This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome to the latest and, dare I say, greatest episode of Who's Next. I'm Indi Hartwell, one of your co-hosts. We're here to break down the latest month of NXT television. And this was a big month. We had the draft, so a lot of superstars went up. We have some new faces kind of coming in, and new storylines, new titles, not titles, but new champions are going to be crowned soon. At least one, possibly two. Who knows what they're going to do with this one title. But I'm not here alone to break it down. As usual, I have the man, the Mississippi Mud Pie, Logan Crosland. Logan, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great tonight, Andy. How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm better now that you and I are talking some NXT.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Have been dealing with some daycare drama leading up to this pod, but so I'm glad to be talking a little wrestling and getting away from that. So
yeah, it's always that's one thing we love about doing podcasts. It's like sometimes you're having a crap day, you get on with somebody that you have common interests with, that you enjoy talking with, and for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, it goes away. Believe me, I've had some bad moods, and I've gone in and done the comics pod or whatever, or the Disney pod, and it just uplifts you. That's one of the beauties of this the community and the people we do these podcasts with. So, you just leave that stuff at the door and talk about wrestling for a little bit, right?
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to talking about these shows tonight because we had some really good wrestling, and like you said, some new stars, old stars leaving. So looking forward to diving into it.
What's funny is I said this the night of one of the nights of the draft, that every time somebody from NXT got drafted, you and I were like popping big time because we're like proud parents because we've been doing this podcast now for 8 months, and we been paying closer attention to a brand that we both love. That's why we started doing this podcast, and it's like really like, I don't know, gratifying, I guess, to see them go on to the main roster, which used to be a something you didn't want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the older, but now it's the guy who made NXT what it is running the show on the main roster. So there's hope for these young people going up there.
Yeah. We were talking back and forth in the chat, and we were just like, "Oh, I'm so proud of them. I'm glad they finally got what they finally deserved." We were shocked by a couple of them just because of the title situations, but we'll get into that because I think some of it's kind of foggy. But like I said,
and there were one or two head scratchers.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
That guy who jobs every week is going up.
I guess they need jobbers for the house shows.
Yeah, that level up legend is going up. I'm just
yeah. Well, it's not wrong. Look, you know what? There's worse things in life, I guess, to do. So you're getting paid to do this, and wins and losses don't really matter. It's all about getting paid to do wrestling. Come on. But all right, enough about that. So they titled the episode on April 25th, Spring Breakin', which they like to do things like that. And it opened up with a highlight reel of a picnic being held where various NXT stars talk about the card that night. So we got the first match is the D'Angelo family. We got Stax and Tony D versus Pretty Deadly, Elton Prince and Kit Wilson in a trunk match. So they brawl on the floor to the inside. Family gets in control. Body blows and knee lifts, stacking them up, taking them down. The family retains control. Trash can shots take Pretty Deadly out. They set up a table, scooping them up. They float outside and post Stax and Tony, moving the table over and up the aisle and into the entrance. Channing takes down Wilson, mounted punches, but D'Angelo takes Prince down with a wheelbarrow. Back body drop puts Pretty Deadly into the ball pit, and Lorenzo hits a boogie board assisted senton. And then we go to break. I know these write-ups. Come on. The family is in control, taking Pretty Deadly into the ring for chair shots, turn things around, sidestep a hip toss. Stax goes into a chair in the corner. Loaded punch takes Tony out, working Channing over, putting him up in the tree of woe and stopping away. We get spilt milk on the floor as the assault continues. They drag Stax into the trunk and shut it, but then they have to get Tony D in. Tony D walks over and they open the trunk while Lorenzo has a fire extinguisher, sprays him with it. Crowbar puts Kit in the trunk. Elton is blinded, gets slammed to a table, and Prince goes in the trunk and the D'Angelo family win by putting Pretty Deadly in the trunk and closing the lid. So I thought this was a fun kind of schmoz here, kind of a kind of a mess, but Pretty Deadly obviously is on their way out at this point. We're guessing. And what do you think of this match?
Yeah, this was a good weapons brawl kind of street fight kind of style match. I love that you had to say ball pit and boogie board somewhere in that description of this match. Both happened. That is a real thing. It happened. There was a ball pit. There was a boogie board. But I just loved hearing that. That's awesome. But I thought this one was really good. I was wondering how this would kind of work. It's basically an ambulance match, but it's like the mobster version. You're going to throw them in the trunk and then take them out and quote unquote get rid of them. So I thought this worked really well. I've really enjoyed Stax and D'Angelo as a team lately. I really think they've gelled really well together, and I think they've kind of emerged as one of the possible contenders to Gallus going forward. And yeah, this is pretty much effectively, it seemed, and I kind of think it ended up being the end of Pretty Deadly in NXT. It's sad to see them go. They're one of the top teams. They usually always entertain us. So happy for them to get a bigger opportunity because they deserve it. But sad to see them leave because I know that they could have had so many more great matches with some of these teams. So, but
yeah, I think I messaged you when they drove off in the trunk, like, they're on their way to Raw or SmackDown. That's where they're getting. But yeah, we're pretty dead. I would love to see them stay more, but I don't think there's really much more they could have accomplished. So getting them on the bigger stage was really a thing for them. It was time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought. So then we get Tiffany Stratton rolling up into the arena, cutting a promo about how she's going to take her spot in the center of the division tonight. Andre Chase is deep in thought when Duke Hudson rolls up to him, tells him it's too late for thinking. It's time for action. He says Bron Breakker is an animal, a wrecking ball, but he's Andre Bloody Chase, a beacon of hope to thousands of students. And it's time for him to stand up for all Chase U. He gets Chase fired up, says he's going to give Bron Breakker an Andre Chase university-sized ass whipping. We go to break. We come back. We get Andre Chase versus Bron Breakker. Bron hot out of the gate, shoulder blocks, whip across, another shoulder block, and Andre's in a bad way. Pressing the attack, military press slam sets it up, and then Bron Breakker wins by submission with a Steiner recliner. Pretty quick, pretty effective. Kind of continues on the dissension or the whatever Duke's ulterior motive is here with Chase U, and gives Bron another squash as a heel. So I thought this was effective. I do love that they didn't call Bron up. I mean, obviously, I think we're a little ahead of when the draft right now because time is a weird concept, and but I do love that they're giving Bron a chance to be a heel and kind of work on that side before coming up to the main roster and being kind of just another guy, so to speak, like getting lost in the shuffle because he'll have to leapfrog over a lot. And I think also that could be why they're doing that right now, and they'll probably see which side of the roster they'll need him more on when the time does come for them to bring him up, and they're trying to see if they do have that option. What do you think about this match, though?
Yeah, I think the match was effective, like you said. It was supposed to be getting over Bron's heel character, kind of, playing up with the crowd, kind of, shitting on them and stuff like that. But, Chase had his hope spot somewhere in there, but this was mostly a squash for Bron to get him over, kind of get him back in that his focus back on the NXT Championship and going after Carmelo. But yeah, we were surprised Breakker wasn't one of the people drafted. But I do also get it, and I think they've kind of admitted that they're kind of doing this test run heel turn, and this heel character to see if he can kind of handle doing that, or if he's just going to be a white meat babyface his whole career. But I think he's done it well so far. I think it's really worked for him. So. We'll see how much that is the case going forward. But I've enjoyed it so far.
All right. We get a backstage interview about to happen, but Dijak comes out screaming through to beat Dragunov down. He tries to slam a loading bay door closed on him and succeeds after a struggle. Then we get to our next match, which is Cora Jade versus Lara Valkyria. We get Valkyria punching away, kicks in the corner, boot up on the charge, up and over, handspring, hip toss fired up. springboard crossbody, cover for 2, and we go to break. Back from commercial, Cora is in control with a wicked kneeling surfboard, counter into an arm drag, rising knee into the corner, cover for 2, blocking punches, big slap, rolling soul butt, knee, axe kick, rolling Northern Lights suplexes. Lyra makes a comeback, ripcord knee, cuts her off, blocks the knee, and back body drop to the floor. Back inside, Valkyria up top, missile drop kick, connects, bridging fisherman suplex for 2, small package, still 2, block a kick, heel trip, underhooks, duck a lariat, handspring into an enziguri, and Lyra's fighting. Lyra. Cora rolls away from the soul butt, tries to bring a kendo stick, but Valkyria cuts her off. Chop block sets her up, and Cora Jade wins by pinfall with the DDT. I really enjoy Lyra Valkyria. I think she's a kind of a spitfire. Her kicks could be a little could connect a little cleaner, I think, in her matches, but I definitely see a big upside with her. Cora, I'm kind of wondering what they're doing with Cora. I mean, she does win this match by heel tactics, but I don't know what's been like kind of going on with her the last few months, because you kind of saw her as like maybe the possible, person that was going to take the title off of Mandy back when Mandy was still champion, right? But ended up being Roxanne. You thought maybe she was going to feud with Roxanne. No, she didn't really get a shot at Roxanne. So, and now she's kind of in limbo. Obviously, she's going to be in the tournament, and we'll see what happens with her in the tournament that we will touch on in a little bit. But what do you think of this match, and what do you think of Valkyria so far, and what's going on with Cora?
Yeah, I think Valkyria's got a ton of talent, or a ton of potential. I think like you said, she could connect on her. She could be a little crisper with her kicks and some of her strikes and stuff like that. But I think she definitely has a ton of potential. Cora, I don't know. Ever since she came back, I'm just not really into her matches for some reason. I don't know if she's working like slower, or I don't really know that she's like. I think she's got the character of the heel down, but I just don't know that her style in ring really fits her being a heel. So I think it's just kind of a weird thing that she's still trying to figure out. I think the NXT brass are very behind her. I think she's definitely going to be a contender, or possibly maybe even the next champion after the tournament that you kind of alluded to, what happened in the following weeks after this episode. But I haven't connected with her since she came back from whatever injury or whatever she was having going on for those months that she was out between like Halloween Havoc and whenever she came back a few months ago. But yeah, I think Valkyria has a ton of potential, and I think Jade has a ton of potential too. But there's been a disconnect for me with her since she came back.
All right, so we see Carmelo Hayes and Grayson Waller both walking backstage separately. Then we come back from the commercial. We see Tony D and Stax driving and chatting while Pretty Deadly bang on the trunk. They pull over. Tony D tells Stax to check. He slams the trunk lid on them a couple times, and they drive off. Then we get our next match, which is an NXT Championship match. Carmelo Hayes defending against Grayson Waller. And we get, we're going to fast forward a little bit into the second half of the match. We got Waller working a half crab, fireman's carry. Carmelo slips out, kicks the ropes, sets up fade away, and lands it true, but his leg is hurting. Face breaker off the ropes with a boot, rolling elbow from Grayson, gets a super kick, double lariats, both men down. Waller falls into a cover, just misses, back and forth. Hayes is fired up, imploding springboard DDT, doesn't get the pinfall. Waller presses the attack, fireman's carry spinebuster. Then Grayson gets the stunner, but Mello rolls to the floor, setting the champion up on the announce table. Well, Waller off the top, elbow drop through the table, back inside cover, but Carmelo Hayes won't stay down. Waller to the floor, hanging Hayes over the bottom rope, throat first. He stumbles on the Rolling Thunder, and the champ hits a super kick, and then he goes up top. Carmelo Hayes wins by pinfall with nothing but net, retaining the NXT Championship. Post-match, we got Hayes calling out Bron Breakker, tells him he wants another match at NXT Battleground on May 28th. Bron comes down and spears Trick Williams out of his boots in the ring, and then smashes Carmelo through some of the ring set for good measure. I really like this match. This was kind of also, again, another swan song, so to speak, with Grayson Waller, because we knew Hayes wasn't going to. If Waller didn't win back, a couple of months ago, he wasn't winning the NXT championship before he sails on, right? I thought it was a fun match. I do like them, continuing to have put over Bron with putting people through barricades or going through things. And this looked pretty badass when Hayes went through. So what did you think of the match and then the post-match beatdown?
Yeah, the spear through this like the balcony, the bottom part of the balcony was pretty awesome. So I won't deny that. But the match was fantastic. It makes me happy because it was so good because I love both of these guys, but it also made me sad because we're probably not going to see it again until Mello eventually gets up on the main roster. Kind of like you alluded to. I was when they did the fatal four-way for Waller to qualify to have this title match at Spring Breakin', I was kind of surprised he won because I thought Waller would hang around and maybe until SummerSlam time or something like that, and they would have a big match like leading into SummerSlam weekend, and that would just be kind of the feud over the summer and towards kind of the fall. But when they did it, I was like, yeah, either Waller's going to win here and Mello's going up, or vice versa. So I think Mello staying down and being the champion a little bit longer is definitely the right call. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic. But like I said, it makes me happy and sad because we probably won't see this one for a couple of years after this point. So, but yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and the post-match brawl was awesome.
Yep, and we get Roxanne cutting a promo about her history as a wrestling fan. We get a video package about the ongoing saga with Brooks Jensen, Henley, and James. And we go to break. We come back, and your favorite guy, Joe Coffey, is on the phone. When Joe Gacy rolls up, it says Schism has a proposal. I know, I was being facetious. He says that Schism has a proposal for him. Ava Ring rolls up alongside him, says they want a fair match for the dyad, and after all, Gallus didn't beat their boys, they beat the Creeds. Gacy proposes a match for next week where if he wins, the dyad gets another title shot, and if Coffey wins, they'll never challenge again. Joe Coffey accepts. Ava reminds Gacy that he needs to get his too. We get a recap of Bron spearing Carmella through the set, and it moves on to a mixed tag, Brooks Jensen and Kiana James versus Fallon Henley and Josh Briggs. We get the guys to start. What do you think of Brooks Jensen, like dressed like actually a wrestler for a change?
It definitely took me off guard. He's a very tan fellow, so he was quite pale in those little trunks that he had on.
Yeah,
he looked like Dollar Tree Terry Taylor from WCW.
It was kind of off-putting to me. I was like watching the match, like, oh my, I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know. What am I watching?
Let's just say I'm glad it kind of isn't sticking around as we'll get through this match.
Yeah, it was very short-lived. This whatever this character change was. But we get the guy starting. We get Jensen taunting, collar elbow, Briggs with a shoulder block, drop down. He catches Brooks with a jawbreaker, whip to the corner. Then we get Brooks to the floor. Women tag in. Henley hits a Luthez press, back elbow. James with a waistlock, standing switch, mat slam, sidestep to the splash. We get a collar elbow, struggling big knee lift to the corner, shoulder blocks from Kiana. Back handspring to show off. Fallon clobbers her with a lariat, sliding to the floor. Jensen runs interference. Briggs meets him, and Henley clobbers James. To the apron, Fallon knocks her down, but Brooks catches her and uses her to kick Henley. And then we skip forward a little bit we got Brooks with a spinning heel kick, both men down, face to face, on their knees and to their feet, throwing chops. Josh ducks a lariat, but Brooks catches him with another lariat. Another lariat, swinging brainbuster. Josh Briggs kicks out. Then Kiana James throws in the bag. Briggs ducks, and he clips Kiana with the bag. She yells at him, and he turns around, and Fallon Henley and Josh Briggs win by pinfall with a lariat from Briggs on Brooks Jensen. Post-match, Brooks tries to apologize to Kiana, and she tries to slap him, but he blocks it. He says he thought she loved him, and she says she never loved him, and storms off. Briggs is there with a hand on his pal's shoulder. Brooks lays his hand to his chest while Josh comforts him. So, yeah, this match was fine. I'm glad we finally got pretty much the blow-off to this saga. I mean, I do like Josh Briggs. I think he's a big hoss. Whether they'll stay together in a tag team for the duration is another question. I mean, Fallon and Kiana, they're total polar opposites. The frenemies thing was working slightly, but I never really got behind it. So what did you think of the match and the blow-off?
No, I thought this was surprisingly a lot better than I thought it was going to be going in. The two guys really beat the crap out of each other. You talked about a couple of lariats throughout there. They really laid them in with each other. So as good as a tag team as I think they can be and I have been to this point, I think this opened my eyes to how good of a team that they could possibly be in the future as well. And even if they do eventually break up, they could have a hell of a singles match with each other. I thought Fallon was pretty good in this match as well. Kiana is Kiana. I don't think she's ever gonna be great, but she's solid. She's kind of like Zoe Stark to me. She's solid, but she'll never probably get past a certain point. But that's just me, maybe. I thought everybody brought their A game in this one, and I'm glad to see Briggs and Jensen get back together, and hopefully they'll put on some banger tag matches going forward.
Yeah, I think Kiana's good, but I don't think she'll ever be in the top echelon, I guess, of a women's division. I mean, she's fine, and she could double as a manager, as we've seen. Mm-hmm. So that she has that also going for her because she's got the character part down pretty good. Unlike Zoe, who's pretty much just good in the ring.
I'm a good wrestler. I'll face you. That sounds good.
Yeah. So then we get a couple of interviews. We get Dragon Lee, and then we get SCRYPTS appearing on the TV behind him. Says next week we'll find out who between him and Axiom believes in himself more. Then we get Indi cutting a promo in a mirror. Yeah, I know. Then we get NXT anonymous footage of Sol Ruka being dragged behind some glass doors and beaten down to ride her out of television, I guess, for the most part. Mm-hmm. And we get Obafemi, I guess, versus Oro Mensah. Oba is a ginormous mountain of a man. I mean, he's kind of green, though, but he's not bad. I mean, basically, this is a match to put Obafemi over. I mean, there's nothing really of note in this. He hits the last ride, though, which was a pretty decent move to give him. What do you think of his debut here? Was it his debut or was it his second match? I can't remember now.
No, this is his first match for sure on NXT. He's been on Level Up for a while, but he's just a force. He's an absolute hoss, just a brick shithouse. Just he's gonna absolutely bowl people all over and throw them around and stuff. But I was more sad for Oro Mensah in this one. I feel like he came in with a lot of hype. When he first came in, he was in the North American ladder match at at Halloween Havoc, I believe, when they were crowning the new champion after Solo won it and had to vacate it. But yeah, he's fallen on hard times because he's losing to these one of these level up guys that are getting the kind of the call up from that show to the big NXT. So, but yeah, he looked. I thought Obafemi looked awesome. Obviously, he's very green. He's not going to wow you with anything really high flying or anything like that. He's just going to beat the shit out of people. So I think he was impressive in what little time they gave him, but I was really came away more sad for Oro Mensah in this one.
Yeah, I feel bad for these guys like that, are relatively new, and then they end up losing or even getting squashed by somebody else that's even newer, somebody that they need to kind of build up a little bit more. But that's part of what NXT is, though. It's like trial and error, and nothing really sticks because it's much easier to heat up somebody, I guess, in NXT all of a sudden. So I think the crowd's more forgiving there.
Big body Javi the night off too. He's usually the one that gets creamed in these kind of matches. So they finally gave him a break.
Yeah. Remarkably, we don't see big body Javi all that much in these 4 episodes. So I'm grateful for that. So we get Gigi coming out, commentary, cutting a promo on Jacy Jane, pledging to make her life a living hell. And furthermore, her little brother will be at ringside so we can watch her kick Jacy's head in next week. And we get a Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak interview backstage. And then we get Tiffany Stratton making her entrance. We get Tyler Bate chatting up with Wes Lee, kind of like being all buddy, and we're going to see where that leads to. And then we get our main event, which is the triple threat women's title with Indi Hartwell defending against Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton. So we kind of fast forward a little bit into this match, and we get Tiffany hitting a second dive for Indi, following up with a diving crossbody for a near fall back in the ring, drawing Hartwell up, body scissors, guillotine choke, side Russian leg sweep blocked. Indi draws her up and clobbers her with a short arm lariat, maintaining wrist control. Another lariat. Perez ducks a third sunset flip. Stratton breaks it up with a double stomp and gets a near fall on her own, putting boots to Roxanne off the ropes. Indi counters into a pin, drop kicks into the champion to the floor. Tiffany up, senton atomico to the floor, and we get Indi Hartwell hurt on the floor. Stratton takes Perez inside for kicks, corner lariats, big falling lariat, but doesn't get the pin. Reverse chinlock applied, grounding Roxanne, hard whip into the corner, boot up to the ropes as Perez makes a valiant stand, turning her around in the corner, beating her down, back body drop to the apron. Perez up top, perching, diving crossbody. Tiffany rolls through, hossing her up. Roxanne floats over, schoolboy pin, not enough. Jockeying for position in the turnbuckles. Perez hits her with an avalanche Frankensteiner. Then we get trading strikes, a suplex reverse, small package for two. Roxanne goes for another cover, and Indi Hartwell hobbles back in, breaks it up. Covers May, trapping Perez and Stratton both in the ropes for strikes. Spinebuster to Tiffany. Roxanne breaks it up. Stratton hits the moonsault. Indi pulls her out of the ring, falling elbow. Indi Hartwell wins by pinfall with the falling elbow on Roxanne to retain the NXT Women's Championship. This was a great three-way. I felt, Indi showed so much heart here because she gets legit hurt in the middle of this match to the point where I was reading online, like after that, they almost had a title change happen because they didn't think Indi was going to be able to come back out. And I believe it would have been Tiffany that would have taken the title. So good for Indi that she kind of is going to get to, not to jump ahead again, but to go out on her own terms, so to speak, and not, because of an injury. So what did you think of the match? And then Indi miraculously coming back out after having a knee injury.
Yeah, I thought outside of a couple of kind of wonky botches throughout this match, because Roxanne does like one of those like double arm drag where she jumps off the ropes and they got like real tangled up and it just looked real bad. It made its rounds around Twitter. I'm sure everybody's seen it at this point. And then obviously the moonsault or whatever kind of dive it was to the outside that ended up pretty much hurting Hartwell because her leg kind of got caught under and her ankle kind of bent the wrong way. So I haven't heard if she actually broke anything or if it's just like a real bad sprain or anything like that, but it's definitely a legitimate injury because you can watch the replay back and it's pretty gross looking. But other than that, the match was really good. I think when Stratton and Perez kind of had to improvise when Hartwell went out, I think they really did their best in a tough situation. Those two girls are super talented, and I think they'll definitely have a couple of one-on-one matches, maybe even coming up soon. Going forward, and I think both girls are. I think Tiffany has to pretty much be the next champion because I think she's starting to become one of those that kind of a Lex Luger type where she's getting all these opportunities and she keeps falling a little bit short. So I think she finally needs to achieve the big one. But these two girls are going to be great going forward. And sad Hartwell get hurt. But she's a little a good treat next week. So there's that.
I never thought I'd have a Lex Luger Tiffany comparison, but there we go. We've had it. All right.
That wasn't on your bingo card.
Yes. Whoever had that, mark it off. All right. So then we cut back to the D'Angelo family down at the docks. It's heavily implied that they threw Pretty Deadly into the sea, which is actually a crime. Pretty bad one. Tony said they did some business tonight. Now it's time to celebrate, and they get back in the car and they drive off. So that was the last we saw of Pretty Deadly, and that concludes the episode. We move forward to the NXT show from May 2nd, and then we start off with Drew Gulak versus Wes Lee for the North American Championship. We actually get a little recap, though, at the top of all the NXT talent that got drafted to the main roster over the last few days. And we could talk about that towards the end of the pod. But we get Charlie Dempsey and Tyler Bate seconding their men here. And we get Dempsey quickly getting involved, running interference. We get Lee with a drop down. Gulak catches him with a sunset flip for two. Grounded kicks into a double stomp. Jockeying for position in the turnbuckles. Wes rolls through and lands on his feet, and Drew lands a diving lariat. Then we get a grounded Cobra twist, wrenching it in. Lee fights out, trading punches, snapmare, drop kick to the shoulders, out and back in. Charlie pulls Wes out of the ring, but Tyler dives on him to even the odds. Lee with an uppercut, slingshot, back handspring, and Wes Lee wins by pinfall with the cardiac kick. So I thought this was a fine match. I mean, it was the right amount of time. You knew Drew Gulak wasn't going to win it, but it's a lot of it too is also, I guess, building towards something else. And Drew and Charlie Dempsey, who I'm not really catching on. Charlie Dempsey, I'm not really. I mean, I don't know. There's something there that I'm kind of like on him. And Gulak is fine, but you obviously know that they're going to build to Wes Lee and Tyler Bate at some point down the road. But what do you think of this match to start this episode?
Yeah, I think it was a good little technical match. It's just another notch in Wes Lee's belt. He's has these really good matches on TV every week in these North American title defenses. Yeah, I've been kind of disappointed at how they've treated Gulak and Dempsey to this point. I thought they were going to be a little bit bigger of a deal. And I feel like in these episodes that we'll talk about tonight, including this one, they kind of start to kind of use them a little better. But yeah, like you said, it's not very easy to catch on with either of those guys, because I feel like they'll use them for like a week and then they'll disappear, and then they'll use them for like a week and then they'll disappear for a few weeks. So maybe this round will get them a little bit more regularly featured. But yeah, like I said, another notch in Wes Lee's belt and another solid little technical match that he had there with Gulak.
All right, so then we get a recap of Carmelo Hayes defending his title last week at a post-match challenge from Bron Breakker and the Spear. We get Trick Williams walking backstage before we go to break. Back from commercial, we get Alba Fire and Ela Dawn vignette where they talk about their cryptid witchy way about going to SmackDown and having one last unholy seance on the way. Then we get Trick Williams in the ring, and on the mic, he basically calls out Bron Breakker, who comes down, and he ends up, giving him a message to him, and it says Mel is watching through the TV, and last week Braun blindsided both of them. He wants to handle it like men. Braun says there's only one man in the ring. He'd hate to do the same thing he did to Melo than to his mouthpiece. Trick says he isn't a mouthpiece, but Braun's going to need one. He's just mad the crowd never liked him, and they do Trick and Melo, and he'll beat him black and blue, and they job out, but Braun does heel 101, says he's calling the shots, and the match will be next week. So, continue with the character development here, and Trick basically, we had Melo off selling the injuries. We got Trick in here to kind of continue it on, and so what do you think of the heel work here?
Yeah, I thought this was a really impressive segment for Trick. I think he came across really well, made him feel like a big deal. But yeah, more good heel work by Braun, really coming across as a real piece of shit. And I think this is a match on paper that if you presented it to me, I probably would have been too excited for. But I think they made it seem like it was going to be a big deal, and it could be a pretty solid contest between these two.
We get J.D. McDonough interviewed backstage. Says he's waited 21 years to be Monday Night McDonough, and you better believe all of the haters. And then we get Noam Dar rolling up, asking J.D. to pop a kneecap, rip a ligament for old time's sake, so Dragon Lee doesn't come after his Heritage Cup. McDonough gives him some advice: stay away from him, because if he pisses him off, he'll take that cup to Raw with him. Then we move on to Gigi Dolan versus Jacy Jayne. Dolan sends the action to the floor fairly quickly. Jane trips her up, cannonball off the apron. Jacy takes some time to taunt Gigi's brother before going back inside with a lateral press for two. Arm wringer senton. Kick to the spine, mule kick, only two. A little back and forth, trading super kicks. Flash round kick from Gigi, staggering Jacy off the ropes. In the turnbuckles, Jane reaches Gigi's arm into the post and gets a bloody forehead. And Jacy James wins by pinfall with a kick. And we get post-match, Jane kicks her again, takes her to the floor, throwing her into the steps, beating her up in front of her brother. Referees swarm and get her away, and she yells at Gigi's brother some more, and we go to a break. So, again, JD is another guy we both love. We're happy for him, but we're kind of sad that, we're not going to see him on the regular here. So what do you think of the JD Noam Dar interaction, and then the Gigi Jacy match, which I don't know how I feel on this feud right now.
Yeah, I'm happy for JD, but yeah, kind of sad to see him go at the same time. I definitely think he deserves it, and I hope, from what I've heard, they kind of do what they're gonna do with him. Just rumors on the internet and stuff like that. I'm excited to see maybe that happen. But I like their little interaction with Noam and him. They had some matches for the Heritage Cup in NXT UK that were really good. So, and that nice little tie back there. And yeah, these matches with Gigi and Jacy, they kind of had a shorter match a few months back right before Stand and Deliver that, it seemed like it was a part one of like a series. But this one kind of felt the same. It didn't really feel like they did a whole lot. And somebody on Twitter pointed out that everything Gigi Dolan, I love her to death, but everything she does is in like absolute slow motion. It's just like so plotting, and like, you can tell that she's like lining up every spot that she's about to do. So she's kind of fallen off my power rankings, I guess I'll say, as far as people who are going to go forward and be big deals in the division. But I don't know if these girls just don't have chemistry or something like that, which obviously they had chemistry as a team, because they were very, very good at that. But yeah, they haven't had two very good matches here. I think this one was slightly better than that first one, but that first one wasn't very good either. So, and I kind of don't like that they involved Gigi's brother here, because he kind of seemed out of place in this. The one thing I did like is she bled hard way. I don't think that was don't think that was on purpose or anything like that, but that kind of did make Jacy look like a badass. So I did like that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know, but part of me is like, looking at how this feud has developed between the two of them, would you break them up still? I mean, they were like a solid, established women's tag team, and we know that the women's tag division, especially on the main roster, is a mess. So thinking about that, it's like, it's not as, I wouldn't say unnecessary, but I mean, it had to happen at some point. But I mean, unnecessary is like when you talk about Peyton and Billy, right? But this, I don't know, this feud has not been what I thought it was going to be, I guess. Maybe because we haven't gotten the matches. The matches haven't delivered, I guess, as much as we'd like them to at this point.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I don't think it's been what we kind of thought it was going to be. And I think they just could have been so much more effective as a team. I think they could definitely, if they're going to keep these women's tag titles around on both on NXT and on the main roster, because they keep flipping it back and forth, and they've vacated a few times lately. If they're going to keep it around, which I kind of wish they would get rid of them because they just don't book it very well. But if they're going to keep them around, they could use a team like these two were, and they were very good as a team. And I just don't know that these two have a ton of potential as singles at this current time. I don't know. You can't really force them back together, but they definitely need to do something different with both of these girls.
Well, it's like, comics and stuff like that. Like, you could retcon stuff. I mean, they could always, reunite them when they get brought up to the main roster and just kind of like say, hey, yeah, that's all water under the bridge, whatever. They could find a way to do it. And wrestling fans sometimes have short memories. So
yeah, that's true.
Mean, they could always do that in a pinch if need be. I mean, you have people that have like blood feuds. I mean, wow, the feud between like Savage and DiBiase, and then all of a sudden, Savage is a heel and he's the Macho King, and he gets presented with his scepter. It's like, oh my god! So it's like, that happens. That's happened forever in wrestling. So they could still. I mean, I think we'll see them back together at some point. I don't think it'll be in NXT though.
Yeah, definitely.
It could be on Raw or SmackDown. All right, our next match: Axiom versus SCRYPTS. SCRYPTS blindsides Axiom during his entrance. I know. We get a bell, right hand, block, duck lariat, springboard, roll through, drop kicks, cover for one. Waist lock, back bride drop into a cross armbar, but SCRYPTS gets the ropes, tripping Axiom off their aprons. Corkscrew flip nails him. SCRYPTS takes him back inside, cover for two. Whip across, Axiom with his sleeper hold. SCRYPTS breaks his grip. Back elbow, up in the corner, caught moonsault off the top. Axiom kicks out. Axiom dives into a dropkick. Scripps lines him up, but Axiom has him scouted. Big knee, still no. Sidestep, the golden ratio. Cartwheel crossbody. Scripps up, 450 splash, but cut off midair with a super kick. And then Axiom hits the golden ratio. Post-match, Axiom offers Scripps a hand. He takes it, but drops Axiom with a punch. Axiom gives him one in return, tears his mask off, and lays him out with a kick. And nobody makes a big to-do that it's Reginald under the mask, which was kind of odd. So what do you think of this match and the unmasking of Scripps?
There was a faint Reggie chant in the crowd.
Yeah, faint one.
I'm just playing. But this is again one of those. If you presented it to me on paper probably 3 or 4 months ago, I would have been like, "Yeah, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit watching NXT at this point." But Axiom's coming to his own. I feel like we've gotten a little bit more behind his hype lately. I still don't think we're like super high on him or anything like that. Scripps still stinks. Scripps still thinks it's a character. I think Reggie is a good worker in the ring. I think the crappiness of the gimmick kind of overshadows that for me sometimes. But they weren't given a ton of time. This match went less than 5 minutes, but I think they did good work in the ring for what it's worth. But with the unmasking of Scripps, maybe this is the end of this character, and we can only pray that it is.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
It did not hit.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. I don't know if it was the wrong guy or the mask being like so goddamn ridiculous. I don't know. So
well, it just you listen to the like vignettes of when he was coming in, it was like this big intimidating voice, and I guess that's to throw you off, but like you get all that, and then it's freaking Reggie in a lucha mask, of freaking Jeff Hardy Willow mask, and
that was basically
black, so yeah. So it's just not very good and poor decision overall.
These angles don't ever work out, do they? GTV, the anonymous Raw general manager. I mean, nothing really pans out in the end, right? Whenever we've had these, can you think of one of these where there was a success?
Nah,
the higher power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I can't think of one. We have that NXT Anonymous going on right now, so we'll see what that ends up being. But maybe that one will hit. But we'll see.
Yeah, we had what the hell was it? Retribution. That was another one that that kind of fell flat. So yeah, this when are they going to learn? I don't know. So we get the kind of the I guess the end of the drama chapter with the whole Jensen Briggs thing, where he rolls up to apologize to Fallon and Josh, but they say he's family and he's all good. Thanks him for not dropping him like a brick. And Briggs thanks him for reminding him how hard he hits. Fallon says everything is back to the way it was and looks through bills. And Brooks says he learned a few things from Kiana. Maybe Henley's folks can use the value of their land to make some investments and get set up for life. Then we get two girls tapping Brooks on the shoulder and asking if he wants to have a drink, but he'd rather hang out with his friends. Aww. So then
he's grown from being a horny little boy. Good job.
Yes, and he's absorbed all that financial knowledge from Kiana.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So then we get Dragon Lee versus JD McDonough. We're going to fast forward a little bit into this match with McDonough having a body scissors in, back elbows break the hold, and Lee crawls into the corner off the ropes. Tierra sends JD to the floor. Then we get back inside, double stomp. McDonough kicks out, trading chops in the apron, rising knee from Dragon Lee, but JD hits a Death Valley driver on the apron. Then we get McDonough back in. Dragon Lee beats the count. Big shots, running hot. JD takes his head off with a lariat. Back and forth. Lee hits a Liger bomb, but McDonough kicks out up in the turnbuckles, trading headbutts. McDonough in the Tree of Woe, but sits up, standing Spanish fly off the top. JD follows it up with a brainbuster, but Dragon Lee won't stay down. Flip pile driver connects. McDonough rolling to the floor. Noam Dar tries for a cheap shot, but Dragon puts him down with a super kick. Back inside, JD with a headbutt, pulling him up, and wins by pinfall with the devil inside. Post match, we get Lee attacking Dar, and they fight up the ramp. I thought this match was really good. Again, it's like sad that JD is going up, but he's going to have some really great matches up there with a number of guys. But that Spanish Fly was really pretty awesome, and I guess the reason was to move forward the Dragon Lee Noam Dar thing, But I was a little surprised that JD gets the win here. So what do you think of the match?
Yeah, usually in these situations, the guy that's kind of going away does the honors for the new guy. I don't think it hurts Dragon Lee at all to take the loss. I do think he needs to get this win in this feud with Noam Dar, though, because he has taken a couple of losses on his way in. So, but it doesn't hurt to lose to JD. JD's going to be a main roster talent. He's going to be a main roster talent for a long time. I honestly think this is one of the best matches we've seen throughout the whole pod as a whole. I thought this was just super crisp. They hit everything with a ton of force. Like you said, that Spanish Fly was awesome. He hit Lee countered the Devil Inside with a Canadian Destroyer. That was absolutely sick. Just a ton of great moves, a ton of high-paced action. The crowd was on fire for all of this. So, yeah, maybe you could say that maybe JD should have done the honors, and that's the black mark on this match. But I think it ended up being all right. And Dragon Lee will definitely come out of this looking a lot better, and I think he'll have some success coming up for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. So then we get Kid Carter and Katana Chance hanging out backstage talking about their tag title match. Now, unique it is for a Raw tag team, which is them, and a SmackDown tag team, which is Ela and Alva, to be fighting for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. The Schism meet backstage, and Joe Gacy talks about how he's going to suffer for their collective good. Back from commercial, we see a video package of all the NXT women who have been attacked over the last little while. And we get Joe Coffey versus Joe Gacy, a match that Logan was looking forward to. Obvious match of the year candidate for him before he even sees it. So,
not a big fan of the Joes.
No Joe. So we get Coffey ramming him into the corner, but Gacy turns him around with a pile of lariats. Knee lifts from the Gallus man. Mule kicks in the corner. Schism picks the leg, but Coffey lands a hook. Crossbody for a near fall. Kick from Gacy. Block the ripcord. Knees up on the senton. We get a big rock bottom from Gacy. Cover for two. Whip to the corner. Coffey with uppercuts and forearms. Whip reverse. Duck a lariat. Shoulder block. Gallus gets a belly-to-belly suplex off the ropes for a near fall. Back suplex. Gets Schism a near fall. He runs into a jab from Coffey. Drop kick off the rope. All the best for bells. And Rip Fowler pulls Joe Gacy foot on the ropes. Gallus and the Dyad are getting into it on the floor. Jagger Reed eats all the best of bells, and Coffey turns around, and Ava Raine plays Eddie Guerrero. Gacy is ready. Joe Gacy wins by pinfall with the upside down, earning the Dyad a tag title shot against Gallus. Backstage, we see Diamond Mine watching. Ivy now is sick of Ava Raine interfering in matches, so she storms off. I mean, I thought this match was fine. It was kind of a Haas fight and was meant to propel us to getting a tag title match coming up, so I thought it was fine. I'm a little higher up on Joe Gacy. I have not seen enough of Joe Coffey to have a real informed opinion on him like Logan does, but I mean, I thought it was fine, and the story work was good here.
Yeah, this was fine. It was very short. It was only like 3 minutes, so that kind of surprised me that it was short as it was. But like you said, it's more to push the tag part of this forward. The match that the Dyad's going to get with Gallus the next week. So it was more for that and more to kind of, get over Ava as kind of she's the deciding factor in most of these matches. She with Joe in it, at least. I don't think she does a ton for the tag team, but she seems to always be the deciding factor in the matches that Joe has. So she's definitely playing that part real well. But yeah, it was fine, but it was too short to be anything really impressive. It's probably good for these two guys, in my opinion, that it was pretty short, because if they had gotten too much longer, it probably would have bored me to death. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
Yep. And we get Saul Rucco checks in with her pal Danny Palmer doing splits, says she's going to win it for her. And we get Hank Walker and Tank Ledger rolling up to pep talk her, and Oba Femi rolls up to be imposing. Am I silly? Am I getting a kind of a new version of what's it called?
Heavy machinery.
Heavy machinery from these guys. Are you getting that kind of vibe here from these two?
Yeah, a little bit, because Tank is kind of the wacky, chunky guy that just does all the weird hand movements and stuff like that. And then Hank's just kind of the straight man. So yeah, I definitely get that vibe. But yeah, the great team of Hank and Tank.
Yes. I did enjoy having machinery in their time. Now I gotta tell you, I do love Otis. How could you not, really?
Yeah, true. Very true.
Back from commercial, we see footage of Eddie Thorpe talking about how he's been training lately, while Damon Kemp, my least favorite guy, rolls up to give him some garbage to throw away. I just don't get him. I just don't see the personality in the ring. He's it's just okay. And then that's going to obviously set up a match between the two of them later. We get Danny Palmer versus Tatum Paxley. And we get Paxley with a waistlock. Palmer picks up a leg. Deathlock reverses. Tatum reverses. Blocks. Big head scissors takeover. Kip up into a pin. We get a side headlock applied. Wrenching it in. Paxley shoves her off and clubs her in the back of the head. Boots to the corner. Gut wrench suplex. Cover for two. Shove off. Overhand chop. Mat slam. Big splash. Cover. We get a crossface with a knee to the back. Shift to a cobra twist. Reversals. Duck a lariat. Spinning back elbows from Danny. Rising knee sets up a neck breaker. Paxley with an O'Connor roll, kicked out. German suplex connects. Palmer up. Danny Palmer wins by pinfall with a frog splash. I mean, I thought this was fine. I mean, Paxley, I thought we were probably going to see a little more, but she's one of those, and I mentioned them earlier. For like, how long did we see, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay basically be almost enhancement talent until they really started finding their characters, and then they put them together. They became the Iconics. I see that with Paxley. Paxley has a lot of growth ahead of her, and I think she'll be fine. Danny Palmer, very athletic, a level up mainstay, I think. One thing I don't like is there's too many people using the splash for the finisher right now. She's using it. Lyra's using it at times. I don't really love it for her, but I thought she looked okay. I mean, there was rumors of her and Saul going to be a tag team. But obviously, with Saul getting injured, that puts the kibosh on that for now. But so, what do you think of this match between these ladies?
Yeah, Danny's another one of those that I think she's one of those college athletes that they kind of got on an NIL deal or something like that. She's super athletic. She can do some athletic stuff, kind of like Soul can. Soul's obviously a lot bigger than this girl is, but I think that's kind of why they wanted to team them up together, because they're kind of the same style, kind of come from the same background a little bit. But yeah, Tatum's going to be she's going to be the girl that loses these matches to these kind of new girls as they kind of factor into TV. She's a good hand. I hate to use that term, but I feel like that's kind of where she is at this point. Like you said, she, as long as she plays her role and does what's best for business for a while, hopefully they'll pay her forward as in the end, or as she advances through her career. But yeah, perfectly fine match for Danny here. She showed some athleticism, but I think both of these girls have a good bit of potential.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I mean, look at Kaden Carter. How long was she getting squashed for until she finally got put into a tag team? So yeah, they got to pay their dues, right?
Yeah, they got to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just look at like Angelo Dawkins. Like, he was in NXT from the beginning until like 2017, 2018 when Montez Ford finally came in and he hit big, and now he's in one of the best tag teams on the main roster. So, I mean, if you can't ever give up, you just gotta keep doing what you're doing. If they give you something, you have to do it to your best of ability, and sometimes it gets over, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, there you go. So we get a Chase U vignette with Thea Hale having a panic attack about Andre Chase not being in class today, and Duke Hudson springs into action to take control of the class, and he leads on a quiz about the draft, and talks about that what a nice ring Duke University has to it. Then we come back for commercial. Robert Stone is looking through the Von Wagner family album. Wagner narrates the history of his dad in the Beverly Brothers, and Stone finds a picture of Vaughn as a messed-up-looking baby, but Wagner refuses to talk about it. Stone looks at the pictures more closely. We see that baby Vaughn had a big old suture across the dome of his head. So where that's going to lead, I don't know. We get our main event, which is the women's tag team title match with Alba Fire and Ela Dawn defending against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. So we move forward a little bit. And we get to the ladies. We get a double team. Gets a near fall on Alba. Front chicanery. Fire kicks out. We get Kaden with a boot. Katana a shoulder thrust. Assaulted assisted moonsault, but the knees are up. Kick to the ribs. Tag to Dawn. Lung blower hold. Fire off the top. Senton Atomico. Carter breaks it up. Code breaker staggers Hila. Carter tags in. Chance off the top. Neck breaker 450 combination. And Alba breaks it up. All 4 women are in, brawling at once. Fire with a super kick. Katana puts her in the corner. Boot up, jockeying for position up top. Kaden tags in. Double Spanish fly. Crossbody takes Dawn out, but Fire uses Chance as a weapon. Powerbomb lift. Hila tags in. And Alba Fire win by pinfall with the KLR bomb. Reverse STO combination on Katana Chance to retain the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. So I don't know what they're doing with these titles, right? Because these are obviously, we've danced around the draft a little bit, but when it started on SmackDown, we got Hila, Dawn and Alba Fire getting drafted, right? And we're like, oh boy, so they're dropping the belts to Carter and Chance, right? And then Carter and Chance get drafted to Raw, so it's like, what's happening here? No idea. This match was pretty good. I do really enjoy the team of Fire and Dawn. I mean, I don't have high hopes for Kaden and Carter on the main roster. I think they'll be fine. I mean, I think they'll be, in the Rumble. They'll be be heated up, when needed to be a challenger here and there. But I don't see that much of an upside of them on there outside of being like, as you don't like to say, like good hands, so to speak. But I thought this was fine. I did like the double Spanish fly, and and the champs look good here. So I think they're going to be really make a difference on SmackDown, the two of them. But what did you think of the match?
No, yeah, I think Fire and Dawn are definitely going to be a big deal on the main roster going forward. And I also kind of feel the same about Chance and Carter. I feel like, like you said, they'll be the team that if they need to heat them up to make them the challenger of the month for the women's tag champions, they'll do it. But up until they were champs in NXT, I don't think that they were presented too well before that. But obviously they were champs. They're the longest reigning NXT women's champions of all time, so that they had a pretty nice run. So they obviously kind of found something, and the fans got behind them for sure with the crazy entrance that they have with the smoke guns and stuff like that.
The dancing, yeah, but I get kind of an Adam Rose vibe. You
know
what I mean? Or No Way Jose, like that dancing, partying stuff in that really small room. Yeah. It'll work. Will it work in a big arena with a different crowd every week? Because that's the thing too. Right now, NXT is not touring for their program. Yeah. So you have the same crowd. It's kind of like a known thing. It's like their thing, right? So are we going to see that on Raw? I don't know. I mean, I maybe I'll get proven wrong, hopefully, but I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's really a wait and see. I think they probably won't get super over, kind of like they were at points during this run, but you hope for the best, but maybe not expecting the best at the same time. Oh, but as far as the match went, I thought it was real fast paced. It was pretty chaotic. I felt like there was a lot of cool spots, a lot of good work in there. I love the double team finisher that Fire and Dawn have. I think that's a really good one. But I thought the match was really good. Solid way to kind of see both of them off NXT TV as they both got drafted. But I think they mentioned that Fire and Dawn are going to keep the belts, and then they can kind of float between SmackDown and NXT. So that's going to be kind of a weird thing. I kind of wish they would either just vacate them or, again, just get rid of them, because they just don't put enough focus on it to make it worth having around. So we'll see where it goes going forward, but it's going to be kind of weird to see them kind of float back and forth if that's really what they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's going to be I think it's going to be some time too before they have like a team that in NXT that they want to have the belts on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see anybody. I mean, we did get to kind of go aside a little bit. We did get another, not an official, I guess, call up, but like a debut there to be squashed on SmackDown this past week with Fire and Dawn doing their debut match on SmackDown. They took on Valentina Feroz, and the other one, the one that's back from the injury.
Oh yeah, Yelissa Leon.
Yeah, and they pretty much got squashed. But maybe they could be the team to take them. They're a really only established team, unless we get something like a Roxanne Lyra team or something like that. I could see. I don't really know anybody else that really could be paired up right now based on the roster and the injuries and who is doing what at the moment.
Yeah, they got a lot of injuries on that women's side, and like you said earlier, like Danny and Soul could have been a team, but Soul tore her ACL, so she's going to be out for at least 9 to 10 months, you'd think, maybe even a year. So, yeah, I just don't like with those two teams leaving. Those are the two established teams, and there is literally just a bunch of girls. I mean, I think that Jakara Jackson girl and Lash Legend are a team, but I think they're like exclusively on Level Up right now, so I don't. They could be building them up, but I don't think they're close to being championship level.
Yeah.
So
and they have Elektra Lopez with somebody right now, also on Level Up. I've caught a couple of glimpses of.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of people there. It's just a matter of I've never, and this goes for the men too. Like, I've never been a huge fan of just having two people together. I want my team to have a team name. I want them to have matching tights. I want them to come out together. That's tag team to me. That's what got me into wrestling. The British Bulldogs at WrestleMania 2. That was really that was like, oh my God, these guys are awesome. And look at this, look at the way they work together and everything like that. I've always had an affinity for tag team wrestling, but I like tag teams. Like, obviously you get your Edge and Christian, or you get your your Rhino Heath Ledger, whatever. Heath Ledger or Heath Slater. What a friggin' slip that was.
He's got kids.
I got kids. But no, but you know what I mean? Like, I like to see them, like, they could have had, I've talked to them twice, third time I'm talking about them. They could have had Peyton and Billy just as them too. No, they made them into the Iconics. They put them together like that. They need, that's what I like. And that's what I think is kind of missing from tag team wrestling these days. But that's like my little soapbox for a second.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I mean, yeah, they need to establish, a team needs to establish themselves on that kind of level up stage, and then immediately go into NXT TV and be a team, maybe have a name, but always be presented as they're best friends, they're associates, they are gonna go after the tag belts just straight from the beginning. But too often they just are like, oh well, these two could be tag team champions, so let's throw them together.
Yeah. So after this, we get a Dijak promo talking about what a beating he handed Dragunov earlier. We get Indi walking backstage on crutches. Then we get back from commercial. Trick Williams meets Apollo Crews in the parking lot. Crews just want to tell him he sees potential in him, thinks he can have the place, take the place over. He's the definition of a superstar. He better not let that talent go to waste. Trick thanks him. They embrace. So Apollo Crews is headed back up to the main roster. Then we get Indi Hartwell in the ring, mic in hand, talking about when she first came to the Performance Center years ago, and how she formed a family with the Way, and that she couldn't believe she won the title of Stand and Deliver. And lots of folks say they want to be a fighting champion, and you don't always get to prove it. But last week in the trans room with a high ankle sprain, she said, hell no, and ran back out there, said she wasn't going to let the title reign end on the medical table. Then came Friday, she got drafted to Raw. It's been a few days, she still can't believe it. But right now, just like when she walked through the PC doors, the most important thing is NXT and this title. And starting next week, there'll be a tournament to crown a new champion, ending at Battleground. And she says she lives by the "don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened" mantra. She holds the title in front of her, gets emotional, kisses the main plate before saying it down in the ring, hobbling off, wondering how she's going to leave the ring. Then we get Dexter Lumis sliding out from under the ring with a thumbs up to help his wife leave in dignity. Then we see a manicured hand reach down, grab the title, and another grab it elsewhere. Cora Jade and Tiffany Stratton tug of war for a moment before the ring fills with the entire women's division brawling, which I really love that, because it shows that they, when they do these on NXT, shows how hungry they are with the NXT stuff, with other title chases they've done. But I think I might have messaged you like, I'm not, you're crying, I'm not crying with the whole Indi promo, because I thought it was so nice, it was so sweet. She earned it. Yeah. I mean, it was a surprise that she won the belt, but we were very happy for her. And, because we knew she was one of those, it's time for her to go to the main roster, but maybe she got this as a transition. It didn't end the way, we had all wanted for her, but she did her goodbye was so nice. We get the, Dexter thing, and then, it leads right into the rest of the roster. Who's going to take it? Who's going to claim it next? And I think we get the, we show who the top candidates are pretty much off the bat. But so, what do you think of Indi's promo? How many Kleenex did you need? And what do you think of the women's division going forward?
Oh, I went through the whole box when Dexter carried her out, and she
gave
the big thumbs up. So, no, I'm just playing. I hate that she had the injury, and that's kind of a little bit why she gave it up. But I almost feel like I feel better that it ended that way, and she didn't have to lose, because I think they gave it to her as a thank you for being the stall. I mean, she's another testament. Like you were talking about some of these girls that are not doing much right now, but they're hanging around and doing what they're kind of are told to do at this point in their career. But Indi hung in there. She finally became champion. They appreciated that she was there, and they gave her this run. I you don't ever want to see anybody get hurt. But I do think it's kind of an effective way to transition away from her, because it would be tough to have her lose and then go to the main roster, because it kind of seems like, if she can't beat these girls, how is she going to beat the girls up on the main roster and stuff like that. But, yeah, she definitely needed to end up on the main roster. It seems like they're kind of reuniting most of the way. I think Theory obviously won't be involved because he's kind of his own guy now, but it seems like they're doing the way 2.0. It'll be awesome to see them all back together.
All right, so that ends this episode, and we move on to the NXT show from May 9th, and we open with a recap of Indi Hartwell relinquishing the women's title. We get the participants of the NXT Championship Tournament are arrayed on the stage, and Tiffany Stratton and Gigi Dolan get instant promos about they're going to win the tournament before starting us off in the first match. So we get Gigi Dolan versus Tiffany Stratton. We get some back and forth, double stomp, Stratton see it arm breaker, see it arm bar, double stomp to the hand, hammerlock, Gigi sidesteps, cover for two, arm ringer, trading strikes, Dolan with lariats, front kick, Tiffany wins with a double arm knee arm breaker. Stratton then follows it up with a back handspring elbow, roundhouse kick. Gigi tries for a Cobra twist. It gets blocked. Tiffany with a Finley roll, double jump, and then wins by pinfall with the double jump moonsault. I thought it was a good start to the match. Tiffany obviously is our favorite going into it. Gigi's kind of treading water. I mean, I think because of the whole Jacy feud that, unless you're going to put those two in the finals, neither are going to advance far in this tournament. What do you think of this opening match here?
Yeah, and I after the two matches they've had, I definitely don't want to see them fight over a belt in a final for a tournament. So, like you said, Gigi's kind of treading water at this point. Tiffany's definitely one of the favorites. She now named the moonsault the prettiest moonsault ever. So a little homage to Christopher Daniels calling it the best moonsault ever, but she has the prettiest moonsault ever. So I like that little bit of homage to Daniels there. But this match was fine. Obviously, Tiffany was definitely going to win going in. She will at least make the finals, I think, if not win the whole thing. So, I thought it was all right. It wasn't anything too great. Gigi, kind of like I said earlier, isn't really impressing me. It feels like she's kind of in slow motion a little bit. I don't know if she's demotivated or something like that, but hopefully she turns it around going forward. But this was all about Stratton for sure.
All right. So then we get Gallus, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang versus the Dyad, Jagger, Reed, and Rip Fowler for the NXT Tag Team Championship. We're going to cut forward a little bit, and we get Fowler keeping Coffey in the corner. Tag to Reed, boot up and over, super kick and a throat thrust cuts Mark off. Jagger with a front chancery, grinding him down, back body drop, shakes him off. Wolfgang tags in, cleaning house with strikes, stampeding Reed into the corner, whip across, big crossbody. Diving double axe handle, scoop and a slam, big senton, and the Gallus man stands tall in control. Tag to Coffee, big slam, only 2. Deep folding press, not enough. Gallus boys with a tag. Ava Rain gets up on the apron. Catapult and the delay is enough for Reed to hit a DDT on Coffee. Tag to Fowler. Ivy now at ringside, beating Ava down to the point where the Creed brothers have to pull her off. Gallus get it together. Gallus wins by pinfall with a boot of doom on Rick Fowler to retain the NXT Tag Team Championship. I thought this was a really good match. I do love the former Grizzled Young Veterans and Gallus. You know, they have a nice contradictory style, so to speak. You have kind of like the faster, more technical guys and the brawlers. The whole Ava Ivy thing is interesting going on ringside, and getting the Creeds involved in this too. I don't know. I thought this was a good match. I really, I know the Dyad is. They said they're going to leave when their contract's up, which I think is sometime in the fall. But I would like to see these guys get a run with the belts. But that's the kind of the opposite of the women's situation. There's a few good men's tag teams that any of them could be holding the belts right now. So what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've all but said they're probably leaving whenever their contract runs out. I think it's in like September or October, something like that. But it's good to see that they're not demotivated or anything like that. They're showing that they still care, but they just kind of want a different environment or something to that effect. But they could really mail these matches in, but they're not. They're working their asses off. I thought this match was really strong. These guys have had chemistry from, we talk about NXT UK all the time, but they had matches in NXT UK that were really good. So they had a ton of chemistry coming from that. But it's good to see the Dyad guys really, really giving it their all, despite the fact that they may not be all in on the characters that they're playing currently, or that they're all in on the company as a whole. So it's good to see that they haven't quote unquote given up at this point. So but yeah, really strong match. Thought it was really good.
All right, very good. So we get Chase U hanging out backstage, and Big Body Javi is making trouble, but Duke Hudson tells him not to even go there. We go to break. Then we get a video package back from commercial of somebody watching all the attacks on the NXT women lately on a bunch of monitors. Wonder where this is going to go. So then we get Duke Hudson versus Javier Bernal, and we get a collar and elbow into the corner. Hudson shoves Bernal down. They go around the ring and back in. Big Body lays in some stomps. Javi taunting. Duke off the ropes. Shoulder block. Scoop and a slam. Bernal begs off, but kicks Hudson's leg out from under his leg. Big DDT. I'm like, the way they wrote this. Big DDT, sliding lariat, cover for 2. Stomps, reverse chinlock applied. Duke powers up, elbow side slam, and a little flip, flop, and fly, and a lariat and a senton follow. Slingshot into a German suplex, up for a powerbomb. Duke Hudson wins by pinfall with a razor's edge. Duke kind of needed to have a squash, so to speak. So, and Javi is always good for that. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly where they're going with this attacking on the NXT women, but I get they're using the injuries to their advantage, at least, to help move the story along. What are your thoughts on this Duke Javi match here?
Yeah, the Duke Javi match was obviously a squash to get Duke a win, make him look good, squashing a guy. So that's always an effective way to kind of get momentum behind somebody. As far as the women watching the video, I want to say I saw on Twitter the other day that they had like Danny Palmer had a match at a live event or something like that, and they had somebody that was like in a ski mask and black shirt, black pants attacker. So it's obviously going to be a person at some point. I think they're starting to kind of imply that on the live events. So I don't know that they got into that on TV at all at any point in what we're going to cover tonight. Maybe they'll talk about it tonight on tonight's episode as we're recording on a Tuesday. But yeah, hopefully that unveils itself soon, but I'm interested to see who it might be. Hopefully it's not another SCRYPTS debacle, but we'll see as we see who it might end up being.
Yeah, I have a thought which we could talk about. We'll probably talk about it on our next episode. It might even be revealed by the time we record again, but I'm I hope that the thought that just popped in my head is incorrect. So, we got Robert Stone and Von Wagner walking backstage. They do an exercise where Stone asks for his favorite things before whipping out the picture of Von as a messed up baby. We got Von's refusing to talk about it and then beats up some guy who was right there with a smart-ass remark before mocking Stone's choice of pistachio ice cream as his favorite. We get Eddie Thorpe making an entrance. I don't know. Gallus are walking backstage celebrating their win. They run into the Creed brothers with Ivy. Gallus tells them to stay out of their business. Bickering ensues, and they talk about having a fight. Then we get Damon Kemp versus Eddie Thorpe. This was a match. I'm like, what do we? I mean, Eddie Thorpe. I kind of think okay, he's our new, more serious, better looking version of Tatanka. So we get collar and elbow, Kemp with a side headlock, arm wringer, and arm drag, and Thorpe is feeling it. Waistlock takedowns from Damon. Eddie gets to the ropes, and Kemp breaks dirty by pie facing him. Side headlock, shot off an over duck lariat, headlock takeover to the ground on Damon. Damon Kemp reverses, headlock takeover his own, off the ropes, leapfrog, big crossbody, takes him down. Thorpe with chops, suplex denied, uppercut, slingshot, jackhammer. Then we get mounted forearms, raining them down, Death Valley driver for 2. Grounded Cobra twist, whip across, back elbow, Solba, Enziguri, big boot, German suplex, Thorpe off the ropes. Eddie Thorpe wins by pinfall with an elbow drop. I mean, I think Eddie Thorpe is fine. He's athletic. He's got a good look. I kind of actually like his character. He's going with his heritage, but it's not in the cheesy Tatanka way. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that. Damon Kemp, just put him in a tag team with Javi so we could just get them both out at the same time. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, Kemp needs to be in a faction and not talk very often because his voice is he's like Jack Swagger level. I always liked Jack Swagger in the ring, but anytime he talked, it was nope. I'm out.
He was the Alexander Wolf of.
of the Diamond Mine. But yeah, I think Eddie has some potential. I think he had some really good matches on Level Up before he started being featured on NXT TV. So yeah, Kemp needs to be kind of the silent type that's in a faction that's kind of the problem is you can't really book him as a bruiser because he's super short and stocky. So I don't know. I just feel like he needs to be the silent kind of beefier guy that's in a faction or something like that. Keeping him with Diamond Mine probably would have been smart instead of splitting him off and making him his own guy. Because yeah, I can't stand to listen to him talk. So if he could have been their silent guy that came in and wrecked shop or something like that, that could have been more of an effective way to use him. But yeah, Thorpe I think has some potential, but Kemp is like you said, just pair him with Javi and they could just get killed by everybody.
There you go. So we got a Bron interview in the locker room. Said there's no change in his attitude. He just stopped caring. For over a year, he carried NXT on his back, and what did it get him? Nothing. The NXT universe chose Mello, and that's fine because he's still picking splinters out of his ass after he speared him through the set. Breakker tells Carmelo Hayes that he's going to put Trick Williams in the same hospital that he put Hayes in tonight. Then we move on to a Dijak versus Dragunov match. And we get these guys have been beating the piss out of each other for the better part of a month, and I'm loving it. Dragunov with a leg pick trip and a big knee, chops in the corner, more chops, and Dijak goes down, bombs away, knee, drop. Dragunov goes up top, but Tall Don cuts him off and knocks him to the floor. Headed out after a breather, Dijak throws him back inside for a cover. Then we get trading forearms in the middle of the ring. Ela gets a head of steam going, knocking Dijak into the ropes. Knee gets an enziguri, and both guys are on their knees. Waistlock, Dijak breaks it, and then Dragunov out, going for the Constantine special, but he can't get a rebound. Kicks both guys down the mat. Dragunov draws up, but Dijak slips out. Slycone can't keep the Czar down. Donovan gets a chair, frustrated, and hammers Ilya with it, and Dragunov wins by disqualification. Post-match, Dijak continues to attack Dragunov, trapping him under the steel steps and climbing him on them to crush him. So I'm enjoying this feud. I mean, these guys are just brawlers. Dijak needs somebody to kind of help elevate him, I guess. I think Dragunov is one of those guys. He's biding time. I don't think by the end of the summer, but I think definitely by maybe Survivor Series, he's on the main roster. I think. And I have seen online some of the theories that I'd actually thought of too. Was like, get him up there, make him that fourth member of Imperium, because Hunter loves them factions.
Yep.
So I think he would fit in well. And then obviously you then have the turn, whether it's him or Gunther, and they resume their NXT UK feud. But what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, the history's there. They could play like they gained a respect for each other throughout that whole time. Yeah, I've definitely seen that one floated around Twitter and the internet for sure. So I think that's kind of likely. Maybe happens after SummerSlam, Survivor Series, kind of like you said. When they announced this match, I was really looking forward to it. I think they weren't given a ton of time. I think like we've said in the past, this is kind of a part one. Dijak obviously gets DQ'd for using the chair. So I think they'll definitely have a match. Hopefully they have a match at Battleground in this given time, because I think that they could put on a banger. It could be a match of the night without them even really trying. I think these two guys could have an absolute classic with not even necessarily putting in full effort, because that's how good both of these guys are and how well I think that their styles probably fit each other. But the stuff that they've been doing lately, just beating the crap out of each other, has been really fun to watch. So I hope they get that PLE stage at Battleground, but we'll see.
All right. So we get Tyler Bate, Steven in the locker room when Wes Lee rolls up for a chat, knifes him up, and they go to do the deal. Then we get back from commercial. We get a social media video from Danny Palmer. We're getting advice from Brooks and Jensen, and we get Tank and Hank also in there. Then we get Charlie Dempsey versus Tyler Bate, trading uppercuts out of the gates. Bate with an exploder suplex and a standing shooting star press. And we get fireman's carry. Dempsey floats out of it. Tyler with a back elbow. Charlie gets a butterfly suplex into a bridge. Bate with a headlock. Working strikes in. Leg pick countered into a cover. Pinfall exchange, head scissors sends them flying, and both men are down and out. Trading uppercuts, Dempsey with an octopus hold. Tyler gets an airplane spin into a slam. Joe Gacy comes out to ringside to chat with Wes Lee. Tyler takes him out with a dive, back inside, bop and bang, Gulak on the apron. Gacy with a cheap shot. Dempsey takes advantage, and Charlie Dempsey wins by pinfall with a bridging dragon suplex. I mean, again, something is not connecting with me and Charlie Dempsey. Tyler Bate's one of those guys that wins and losses don't really matter, I think, with him. And obviously they're inserting Gacy into the North American title picture here. So it kind of did its job where he cost Tyler Bate the match. There's definitely going to be a multi-man match coming soon, which is kind of the hallmark of the North American title when it comes to big events. What are your thoughts on this match?
It was good to see Charlie get a win. I feel like he hasn't picked up a ton of wins. I thought that suplex that ended was real gross, because Bate pretty much landed on his head and neck. I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty nasty. But yeah, this was obviously to push forward this North American thing, North American title program with Gacy, and obviously Bate and Lee will be involved as well. So. It was more storyline than match, but it was also good to see Charlie get a win. But the match was fine, nothing too super impressive. Bate did some good work, and I think Charlie held up his end for the most part. He definitely needs to build up his repertoire a little bit more and get a little bit more experience. But I think he'll be a really good superstar in the future going forward. But yeah, this was more storyline for sure.
Mm-hmm. Then we get Carmella Hayes leaving the barbershop. We get a Dragon Lee interview where he says Noam Dar only cares about himself. Dar appears on the TV behind Lee, says because he's bearing gifts, and that he wants him to be the first official guest in the relaunch of Supernova Sessions. Dragon accepts. Then we get a tag match with Briggs and Jensen versus Hank and Tank. We get a pretty much a fun Hoss match here with Briggs and Ledger, legal, tag to Walker, and they get to work Josh over. Back suplex, gets Briggs some separation, tag to Brooks, whip in a double shoulder block, standing slams, elbow drops, trading shots, whip across, big shoulder block from Hank. Stampeding Brooks into the corner, tag to Ledger, stinger splash, body slam, cover for two, Briggs whips Tank across, heart attack, Briggs and Jensen win by pinfall with the heart attack on Tank Ledger. Post-match, we get handshakes and sportsmanship all around. I thought this was fine. Gets these guys on TV with an established team. They have similar styles, so I thought it fit. And I don't mind the sportsmanship matches every so often, so I'm okay with this. What do you think on this?
Yeah, this was to get Briggs and Jensen a big win as they're kind of reforming. I think Hank and Tank look pretty good. They have a good bit of energy. Kind of like you said, they're kind of a new heavy machinery. They kind of fit that mold. They're obviously still new. They haven't been teaming up for too long. But yeah, this was definitely a showcase for Briggs and Jensen. But I thought it was a good hoss match. They beat each other up pretty good, and I thought it was solid for what it was.
All right. So we get a new edition of the hard-hitting Home Truths with Nathan Frazier talking about all the worldwide talent in NXT before moving on to covering Noam Dar's feud with Dragon Lee. Then we get another first-round match in the NXT Women's Championship Tournament with Kiana James versus Lyra Valkyria. Skip forward a little bit. We get Valkyria with a monkey flip, small package for 2. James with a shoulder thrust in the corner, boot up. Lyra hits a missile dropkick, striking Valkyria with a striking. Then we get a Northern Light suplex into the bridge for 2. Kiana gets her up. Tenru powerbomb, not enough. Back suplex. Lyra lands on her feet. And Lyra wins by pinfall with a reverse roundhouse kick that was hit okay. Definitely see, again, Kiana is fine. I didn't see her going past the first round anyway. I think Lyra is one of those that immediately is in the title picture and deservedly so. So I see her going pretty far in this tournament. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, just looking at the brackets going into the tournament, you could see possibly maybe like 4 of the girls that probably aren't going to make it past the first round, and the other 4 are probably could be candidates to win the whole thing. So there's good balance of people who you don't really think are going to make it very far, but also a good balance of you may not know who's going to be the person that ends up winning it. You have your idea of maybe who it is, but you don't know for sure because it's been chaotic with that belt lately. It's been held up a couple of times. They had the big ladder match, and Roxanne finally ended Mandy Rose's run after so long. But this match was fine. Like you said, Lyra still didn't hit those kicks very well, and Kiana looked fine in this one. I don't think these girls have a ton of chemistry. I feel like they were kind of off on a couple of things. Definitely got better as it was going on, kind of towards the end. But it was good to see Lyra win because I think she definitely has the more immediate potential of these two.
Mm-hmm. And we go to the bar where Gallus are toasting a successful title defense when the D'Angelo family roll up, talk some trash, make a challenge for the title. And then Joe Coffey sets a cutoff baseball bet down in the bar, says things are a little different now that he's here and they need to walk on. Tony D insists that he's going to get the title match. Joe tells him to see himself out. The family are surrounded, and Stacks uses his discretion to get Tony to leave. Then we get into our match, Bron Breakker versus Trick Williams. We get collar elbow, Breakker with a fireman's carry takeover into a wrist lock, taking Williams down. Up kick, break the lock, drop kick in the corner, stampede, right hands, and shoulder thrust. Bron throws a few punches, but Trick has his number and keeps up the pressure. Whip block, standing switch, O'Connor roll denied. Williams sends him into the floor with a couple of boots. We get Trick out to the floor, beating Bron down on the announce desk. Breakker with a back body drop, back inside, mounted punches, another back body drop, big German suplex, another suplex for a near fall, some push-ups for a good measure. Bron grabs a grounded cobra twist, some action off the ropes, both men down and out. Williams with a drop kick and a leaping lariat fired up. Big lifting rock bottom, not enough. Bron gets the military press power slam and waits for Trick to get up, only to get clocked with Enziguri. Williams feeling it, discus countered, the straps are down, Breakker puts him in it, and Bron wins by submission with the Steiner recliner. Post-match, Bron locks the hold right back up on Trick until Carmelo Hayes makes the save. Lighting Breakker up with strikes, he goes for a springboard. Bron cuts him off midair with a spear into the injured ribs. Breakker holds the towel, drops it across Hayes' fallen body to close the show. Now, obviously, you knew Bron was gonna win this match. I thought it was gonna be more of a squash than it ended up being. And Trick, this is the best I've seen Trick Williams look. I mean, he's one of those guys that I've not been high on yet, and he impressed me in this match. So it was a much better match than it had any right to be, and it moved the whole Carmelo Hayes, Braun story forward. Braun as a working heel. I loved the way he was going with his mannerisms, with the straps going down, and kind of saying, that's it, this is it. But I did enjoy the way this show closed. What did you think?
Yeah, I think Trick's looked super impressive the last couple of weeks. That the promo he kind of cut back and forth with Braun was really good, and I definitely think this is the best he's looked in a match for sure. Yeah, he's really impressed me over the last couple of weeks because he's always just kind of been, Carmelo's sidekick. He'd have a match here and there, and they'd be all right, but nothing too impressive. But I think him and Braun put on a pretty good show, a pretty good match here. It definitely got Braun over as a killer. He definitely still beat him pretty impressively. And I love that he started using the Steiner recliner when he turned heel. And he does it much better than his uncle ever did it, because his uncle just kind of sat up and just had hands around the guy's mouth and kind of just had their arms draped over his knees. So he has it more wrenched in, kind of sitting back on it. So yeah, definitely a devastating move for him, and it was good to have him lock it back in after the match was over to kind of draw Carmelo out, and then he just nails him with that spear in midair, which was an awesome spot. So definitely a good way to wrap that one up.
All right, so we move on to our final episode we're going to cover here, which is the show from May 16th. We start off with some promos for the women's title tournament, and we got our first match with Cora Jade versus Fallon Henley. We skip forward a little bit. We get Cora backing off in the corner, sidestep the charge, big knee lift to the back, one for her in front as well, wrenching Fallon's leg over the ropes, delivering a knee drop to the back of the knee. Cover for one, pressing the attack. Cora puts her in a Heartbreak Man's Old Modified figure 4 leg block, posting around, cover only for 2. Henley fights back, chops and forearms, big spin, out, uppercut, big lariat, but Jade comes back with a dragon sleeper, underhooks. Fallon fights out, lands a Shining Wizard, but Cora to the floor, back inside. Jade catches her and gets the win via pinfall. Post-match, Cora has a confrontation with her semifinals opponent, Lyra Valkyria. So, like you just spoke about, like you saw the 4 women that you thought had a chance, 4 women that weren't going to far, and this match, held true to that. Cora Jade, obviously, we said we kind of don't know what's going on with her lately, but she did look good in this match. Fallon, I like Fallon. She's one of those that is, still needs quite a bit of seasoning. Her character's coming along. Her in-ring is good, but she's just, she's not ready. She's not ready for prime time, so to speak. So I thought it was fine. I thought both ladies looked okay, and looking forward to Cora versus Lyra, which they've been having an on-off feud for the last little while. So what did you think?
Yeah, this was definitely a better performance by Cora here, and I think Henley's one of those, like, she's not ready, but she's like the first, she's like the number 1 not ready person. Like, she's the next to break into that like top tier. I think she's getting a lot better in the ring. I definitely think she's got the character down for sure. So I think she's kind of on the precipice of breaking through to that like top level of the women's roster. So I think she's right there for sure. Yeah, the match was fine. It wasn't great or anything, but they also didn't get a ton of time. But yeah, I think it was good to put Cora over here. She's obviously kind of one of the favorites going into this. One of the 4 that you could definitely see winning the whole thing. So yeah, solid match.
Yep, we get backstage. Kiana James and Thea Hale bickering to set up a match later in the night. Tyler Bate and Wes Lee are steaming in the locker room when the Dyad attack them. They only stop when Joe Gacy rolls up to tell them the charade of a friendship is based on lies. And back from commercial, we get Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams rolling up and telling Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak to get out of the way as they make their entrance. Carmelo gets on the mic, says that he's received Bron Breakker's message, and he's well aware that this isn't the same Bron from Stand and Deliver, but this isn't the same Carmelo either. At NXT Battleground, they're in his yard, and in his yard, we don't bark, we bite. So if Breakker is a big alpha dog, he'll come out here and face him like a real one. We get Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak coming out to talk smack to them, and Hayes says difference between them is the crowds chant Willy Wonka for them because Charlie is wearing purple and looks a bit like Gene Wilder, you see, but mellow for him. Trick proposes a tag match to solve both of their problems. Gulak makes a show of hemming and hawing before attacking Hayes, and a brawl erupts. Mello dumps Drew out of the ring with a boot, and the heels run away. So, I dug this. We get, because the next PLE at Battleground is in Lowell, Massachusetts. Bunch of PTBN people will be going there to represent all whole bunch of people. So it's going to be a good show for them. Hope they all have a good time. But I thought this was fine. I mean, you need to give Hayes and Trick a little workout here, and Dempsey and Gulak kind of coming in being shit stirrers. It works here, and I'm looking forward to this tag match. What do you think?
Yeah, this is definitely a solid tag match they'll set up here, and obviously, like I was saying in the previous episode, this kind of gives Gulak and Dempsey a stage to maybe show what they're worth and, how good that they actually are. Putting him in there with the champion and his, his partner, his buddy. So, yeah, definitely a big stage for them. It is cool that Mello's first defense or one of his first defenses, big defenses on a PLE, is in his kind of in his home area. I don't know if he's necessarily from Lowell exactly, but he's somewhere from the area. Mm-hmm. But that is really cool for them. So yeah, cool little segment. Like I said, it elevates Dempsey and Gulak immediately, putting them in there with the champion. So was definitely excited to check out this tag match later in the episode.
All right, so we get Dragunov interrupting Dijak during the vignette to continue on their feud. We get the Creeds making their entrance, and we go to break. Back from commercial, we get footage of Danny Palmer being attacked. Then we go to our next match, which is the Creed brothers versus the Dyad. We're going to skip forward a little bit into the match. Well, they're long write-ups, so want to keep the show moving. You know what I mean? So yeah. Reed has a sleeper hold on Julius. Senton cuts him off. Forearm into the corner, snap mare, and a knee to the back sets up a reverse chinlock. Suplex for separation. Fowler tags in, tries to cut Creed off, but he tags his brother in. Brutus with axe handles, clubbing blows, corner lariat into a marching fallaway slam. Double pin attempt off a bridging Northern Lights suplex, but it's good for two. Off the ropes, Brutus with a pounce, shrugging off strikes from Fowler, trading right hand. Somehow we end up with a stereo 450 splashes from Julius and Jagger as the match breaks down. Big Knee gets a super kick, lariat from Creed. Powerbomb reversed into a snap suplex. Ivy now takes down Ava Rain outside. Brutus with a Brutus bomb on Rip, cartwheel DDT from Julius on Jagger, and the Creed brothers win by pinfall with falling lariat from Julius on Jagger. I really dug this match. I love the spot where you had Julius and I think it was Jagger both looking across the ring at each other, and they both did splashes onto their other, their person they're looking opposite that partner. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like this. Like the Creeds are still hanging around the title picture, and I'm looking forward to what else we have to come. And this tag division has been really good. I said something earlier, but it's been really good so far. The way they're booking it, the matches have been solid. I'm really enjoying this. What do you think?
Yeah, and they all seem to have a ton of chemistry with each other. Again, the Dyad bust their asses in this one, so it's good to see them still having some motivation. But this was all about the Creeds winning and establishing themselves as maybe number one contenders to Gallus going into Battleground. But yeah, just another great match. I don't think the Creeds are capable of not having a good match. All of their matches are going to at least be good, if not great, which I think this one was. This was fantastic. Very hard hitting, a ton of big spots. It was fast. There wasn't a ton of gaps in the action. So just really, really, really good TV match. This and that McDonough Lee match are up there as some of the best TV matches we've seen throughout our run on this pod so far.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. The Creeds, the Creeds are so ready, but I don't want them to go yet. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that they're hanging around because there was talk of the Creeds going up, right?
Yeah, because they were thinking about splitting up Otis and Gable and kind of giving Gable kind of a team angle kind of situation and giving him the Creeds, kind of pushing him up a card a little bit more.
Which I wouldn't hate, but I'm glad the Creeds are still here in this tag division because you got between them, you got these two teams, Gallus, you got the family. It's really solid right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going to end up. So then we go to a video of Tony D and Channing Stacks Lorenzo dining at an Italian restaurant when Paulie calls. Everybody knows Paulie, right? Stacks needs to go talk to him. Not for nothing, you know what I mean? And Tony's proud of. I got, like my New Yorkese starts coming out when I talk about Tony D. You know what I'm saying? He's proud from handling business. Some cops roll up, ask him to come down to the station for investigation with some criminal acts he's been associated with. He leaves them under some protests. Stack returns, is upset about the situation. So we got more story moving forward. Lord knows where this is going to end up. So then we get, the Creeds get on headset and officially challenge Gallus for a Battleground. We still Noam Dar backstage, smiling like a loon, carrying his Heritage Cup. We go break. What do you think of the movement forward here of the Tony D and Stacks thing? What's going on here with Tony kind of getting pinched?
I keep thinking they're going to add a guy to this crew. Maybe a bigger guy, kind of a bruiser, kind of a heavy for them to kind of take out some people that may mess with them. But they keep not doing it, so I'm not sure. But we'll see. Hopefully they get another tag title match soon, because they've really done a lot of good lately and have definitely earned it. I think we'll see Gallus and the Creeds face each other, obviously, at Battleground, but maybe the family gets the next shot.
Do you think the family needs a woman added to them?
That could be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know who could possibly play the role, but that definitely could be a addition that they could use for sure.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. So then we get our Noam Dar Supernova Sessions, which I never saw any of these on NXT UK. I mean, it's his dress his guest is Dragon Lee. Basically, it's the same old like kind of talk show. We get Nathan Frazier here. The one thing that I popped for, which I don't think got over with the crowd that much, was that Frazier says if Noam Dar loses the title, he can give Alicia Fox a call and see if she'll take him back. I popped for that. I don't think it got over, but I thought it was fine. It was like another, the Grayson Waller effect is obviously going to be gone, so they need to kind of bring in another talk spot. I mean, it did its job. Right, you get because we're gonna have some good some cruiserweight or 205 live type matches here, so I'm looking forward to this. Any thoughts on this talk show?
Yeah, this was obviously to set Lee and Dar up for a Heritage Cut match. I think it's going to be at Battleground. It might just be on TV, but we'll see as we move more forward towards Battleground on our next episode and actually talk about Battleground as well. But yeah, these segments on NXT UK were pretty much the same. It's just him, quote unquote, interviewing the person and pretty much cutting them off the whole time. And kind of just anytime they get started talking, he pretty much insults them and just kind of doesn't want to hear what they have to say the whole time. So yeah, solid little segment, set up what it needed to, but nothing blow away for sure.
All right, we get a Jacy Jane interview talking about how she's going to beat Roxanne and move on to the semis where she wanted to fight Gigi, but she just proved she was a failure by losing. Then we get our tag match, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak. We'll fast forward a little bit with Drew with a double wrist lock into the corner, tag to Charlie, back and forth. Dempsey with a half crab reversed into an arm wringer, tag to Trick. Gulak with a cheap shot, quick tags, working Williams over. Eventually Trick makes the tag. Mello and Howard elbows, ducks a lariat, super kick sends Drew over for a tag. Springboard forearm sends Dempsey flying, whip reverse into a pump handle spine buster. Gulak in, back suplex lands on his feet, tag to Williams, big lariat, circling around, grabbing Charlie, uppercut, cyclone kill, tag to Hayes. Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams win by pinfall with nothing but net from Hayes on Charlie Dempsey. Post-match, Carmelo calls Bron out. Bron appears in the Tron, asks Hayes how his wrist feels, and says he's going to have to wait a little longer because he made a pit stop on his way to the arena. We pull back, see him in the barbershop, and nobody's happy about it. He says he figured he'd go get a fresh cut before he finishes what he started last week. I thought this was a fine tag match. I mean, the champ always looks great. Gulak and Dempsey played their part, and Trick is continuing to improve each week. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, this was one that didn't get a ton of time. I would have liked to see what they could have done with maybe 4 or 5 more minutes. But I think, like you said, Dempsey and Gulak played their role, and Carmelo always looks awesome. So Yeah, definitely a solid match. I'd like to see maybe a longer rematch in the future because I think it could be a little bit better. But yeah, Braun being an asshole, stopping at their favorite barbershop before the big match at Battleground was a good little heel spot for him as well.
Yep. So we get Thea Hale rolling up to get Duke Hudson to come to ringside for her match, and he's confused at first before going along with it. Then we come back from commercial. We see Noam Dar running into Lash Legend and Miss Jackson and asks Lash to watch the show. She said, out of all these talk shows, there's only one that she cares about, and that is Lashing Out. And we move on to our Kiana James versus Thea Hale match. Thea with a waistlock takedown early, running on James's back. Kiana fires back with a mat slam, goes for her bag, but Thea gets a roll up for two, whip to the corner, up and over, arm drags from Hale, whips it to the corner, big back body drop. Thea dives on her, back inside, diving splash, but nobody's home. James grounding her with a waistlock, mat slam, stomp to the midsection. Thea back on her feet with a charging elbow, snap suplex, springboard senton, back body drop, puts her on the apron. Hale up, diving crossbody, and misses. James catches her, and she ends up winning by pinfall. I like Thea. She's young. She's got her kind of her pit bull kind of character, like her kind of all over the place. And Kiana James needed the singles win, so I'm fine with it. And Duke obviously was over there, like, grading papers, not really paying attention. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was like, Thea Hale's basically a human pinball. She just bounces all over the place and is crazy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought these girls worked real well together. They seem to have some kind of chemistry. They're both young and green in the business, I think, but they worked well together. They're obviously not neither of them are great yet, but I think they will be eventually. Especially Thea, I think she has a real good chance to be a really good baby face in the future. She obviously needs to get some more experience under her wings, but I think she's definitely impressed so far. And like we've said about Kiana a couple times, she's a good hand in the ring. But I definitely think they had a good chemistry here, and this was a solid match.
All right, so we get Hank and Tank walking backstage, looking at Tank's busted tooth when Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs rolls up. Briggs says he likes the way they work and they should hang out later. We get Ledger telling Walker that they need to be close like mashed potatoes and gravy, and to do that they should have a hoss fight and push each other to the limits in a bonding experience. Hank is in, and it's official. We get Wes Lee in the interviewed in the trans room while Tyler Bate gets checked on. Says he's going to say what he has to say in the ring, and we go to break. Then we get a Dabba-Kato promo where he puts the locker room on notice. And backstage, two guys we haven't seen at all, with Inoue and Blade and Axiom and Eddie Thorpe are hanging out talking about the vignette. Axiom says he enjoys the challenge of climbing mountains, so setting up a match for the following week. We get Wes making an entrance, and he gets on the mic. Says he wanted to address everyone after his match with Tyler Bate against Schism. That has been called off. He's gotten better about controlling his anger, but attack him and his mans for no reason, and you're going to piss him off. Joe Gacy and his goon squad preach friendship and unity, but they're not friends, they're sheep, and if Joe wanted a title shot, all I had to do was ask. Gacy appears on the stage with Ava Ray and says he's never been dishonest about what he wants. He said he'll openly say it now. He wants the North American Championship. Ava says with every win, he inches closer to being the greatest North American champion in NXT history. But what that does is make Joe, when he takes the title from him, Gacy asks for a title shot, and Ava tries to sow doubt in Wes about Tyler's friendship. Enter Tyler Bate. He's had enough for this high school name-calling rubbish. He doesn't know what Joe's problem is with him, but he's had a receipt covering, and if it comes at Battleground, so be it. Wes acts like Joe's going to have two matches in one night, and Tyler stops him, saying they're friends, but he'd be lying if he'd say he didn't want a title match. Gacy tries to gloat about being right, but Wes tells him to shut up. Lee turns to Bate and asks off mic why he didn't say anything sooner. Tyler apologizes for not saying anything sooner and wanted this to be strictly in the spirit of competition, not become in their friendship. Joe asks Lee, how's it going to be? And Wes says he'll take the triple threat. He tells Bate he thought he could trust him, and he leaves. So I'm really liking the setup. Wes Lee has grown so much in the last 9 months or so, I guess, to a year. Insert him and this Tyler thing. That this is where it was going to head with them, and inserting Gacy into it could be a way for Gacy to steal the belt. So what do you think on this setup for the match at Battleground?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a good setup. Putting Bate and Wes Lee in the same match is going to be awesome. awesome to see that they'll pull out some great stuff together. And Gacy, I think, fits into this match as well. Fits in with those two guys. I think it'll be a real high impact, real high flying match between all these three guys. So definitely looking forward to the match. Yeah, like you said, Wes Lee has grown leaps and bounds since his tag team partner had his unfortunate firing. But he has become one of the best parts of TV every week. So he's he's still probably not the best on the mic, but his in-ring stuff is top notch. He's probably one of the best on the roster. But but even still, his promo skills have come leaps and bounds since then. So yeah, he's one of the best that they got. So they need to keep him around and keep him happy.
I don't feel so bad for NASCAR because he's dating your beloved Gigi.
Yeah, good boy.
Yeah, good for him, right? So I mean, I see this being this could be our opener for Battleground.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right. So back from commercial, Von Wagner's walking backstage with some women when he runs into a dude who's picking on Robert Stone, shakes him up against the ladder, runs away. Stone asks if he just stood up for him. Von says Robert's the only one who's been there for him. Stone says he's always seen the potential in him and asks if he's ready to talk about the picture of him as a messed up baby, but Von's not having it. Then we move on to our...
I love that it keeps describing it as a messed up baby.
A messed up baby. That baby is messed up. Mm-hmm. So we get our final first round, right? This is our final first round NXT Championship Women's Tournament match. Mm-hmm. Jacy Jane versus Roxanne Perez. Fast forwarding a little bit, Jane goes for a cannonball, but Perez sidesteps and sends her crashing into the turnbuckle. Fired up, trading forearms, drop kick into a kip up. Suicide dive on the floor, and Roxanne is running hot. Back inside, crossbody into a pump kick, side Russian leg sweep. Jacy blocks a kick, knee to the midsection, shaking off pop rocks. Discus lariat. We get an alarm clock off the ropes. Roxanne sidesteps the cyclone kick and ends up getting the pinfall by hitting pop rocks. I thought this was fine. I think Jacy has really, been improving and, has gotten busted open a couple of times in some matches, showing her toughness. She was always, to me, Gigi, I guess, because of her look and her presence, was kind of always, the one that you kind of drew your attention in. But Jacy has really been solid in the ring. And I do love the ending of this, how you think it's about to go one way and then Roxanne just hits the pop rocks pretty much almost out of nowhere. Uh-huh. That is still one of my all-time. The Sunset Powerbomb is still one of my favorite moves of all time. What did you think of the match? Because there's a little bit more, actually. Sorry. Tiffany Stratton comes to ringside to square up with Roxanne over the championship, and then Gigi attacks Jacy, and they brawl around ringside. All right, now you can give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think this one could have been a little bit better, but I think it was solid for what it was. Roxanne's one of the best that they got, obviously. And like you said, Jacy's improving. I think she's been more impressive than Gigi since the breakup. Like I said, their matches have been pretty disappointing so far, but I kind of blame that more on Gigi. I think she's kind of unmotivated for whatever reason. I don't know why, but Jacy, I think, has brought her into things. Excuse me. But I think this match could have been a little better. I think they were a little clunky in some spots, but for the most part, I think they did a pretty good job.
All right. So we get Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams making their entrance. Hayes says they'll stay here until they turn the lights off. They have to. And then we go to break. We come back. We return to Dragunov's consensual torture at the hands of Dijak. Dijak said he'd break any man and stands up. Nice stick in hand. Ilya says he's still standing, and Dijak sneers at him. Commentary hypes up next week's show. And we get, Hayes and Trick waiting, and Bron Breakker shows up with an army of security in tow. We get Bron say he didn't bring them out here for him. He brought them out here to protect them from him, because if they weren't here, they'd be no match at Battleground. They go back and forth. Hayes says Breakker only has himself to blame. He thought he was untouchable until he got touched. And at Battleground, he's not taking Mella's title. Bron says they fight for two different reasons, and the NXT Championship isn't what interests him anymore. It's destroying Hayes in front of his family and friends, leaving them crying about their hero. Carmella says they're in this match together because they're cut different, but that's all it is. Bron says he's going to make Mella realize that he's not him. He's nothing, and there's nothing to do about it. Of course, a brawl breaks out. Security is less effective than tissue paper in keeping them apart in the ring. Melo nails Bron with a kick to the gentleman's area, and they both end up down and out to end our show to build up for Battleground. So what do you think? Because obviously Battleground is going to take place before our next recording. So what do you think on how they built this rematch up, and what do you think the end result will be?
Yeah, I think this is a great final little push to that, because I think this week's the one that's happening while we're recording tonight. I think that episode will be more around the women's tournament, because they have to do both semifinals. So this is a good final push to this match. There's a ton of personal animosity in this one. Bron mentions that he wants to embarrass Hayes in front of his fans, in front of his family, in his hometown. I feel like that was really good heel work by him, and you want to see Hayes, get that accomplishment in his hometown, and achieve that in front of his family and friends. So, definitely a really good push, final push to that match that will happen at Battleground. So, definitely a match I'm looking forward to. Like I said, at the Stand and Deliver match, I felt like they didn't quite go to the level that I think they can. So hopefully in this match they'll go all out, and it'll be a classic, like I think it can be.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's going to be clear, reversals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Of because Melo, he was the heel, but he wasn't really necessarily received as a heel. Here, definitely Bron's going to get booed out of that building. I think, especially with Hayes being from the area. So I think it's going to be fun. I think Carmelo's going to retain. I don't see him dropping it that quickly, but I couldn't even tell you though who he probably could drop it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say it'll be interesting to see who goes after him after this, because you just lost probably. I mean, Breakker probably ain't going to hang around forever. So it'll be interesting to see who they kind of push up to face him after this.
Yeah, because I think the other two you had there was McDonough and Waller, I think, and they're both called up. So speaking of that, let's talk about the draft quickly before we call it a night here. So any thoughts, surprises that you saw? Obviously this kind of free agent thing is a little baffling to me. Obviously, we got a couple. 3 of them, right? There were 3 free agents from NXT.
I know Zion and Vaughn, but I can't think of what the
is Odyssey Jones a free agent? Or was he drafted?
No, he was on. He got drafted to Raw.
Yeah, Odyssey Jones. I was like, what?
Yeah, that one. Mm-hmm.
That blew my mind. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, because he hasn't. He's been getting squashed on NXT TV, and maybe he's getting put over on Level Up a good bit, but yeah, that one really blew my mind. Obviously, kind of like we talked about earlier, I was kind of surprised that we had that women's tag match, and on one of the episodes, I was surprised both teams went up. So that was a little bit surprising. But yeah, Odyssey Jones and Zion Quinn, who's never on NXT TV, him going up was just like, and especially him being one of those free agents, like other than Brock. And I think Omos is a free agent as well, but I think those two are going to be used as like, okay, they fit here. We're going to have them beat this guy here and have a feud and stuff like that. But
it gives them flexibility.
Yeah. But these other free agent guys that are like jobbers pretty much are just going to be like, hey, who do we need to get squashed over here? Who, make a new superstar look good. They're going to send Zion Quinn over here to let some new superstar or somebody they're trying to build up, like really crush them real quick. Ali is a free agent, and they seem to have him being pushed forward. So maybe it'll be a little bit more exciting than I think. But yeah, I'm kind of down on the free agent thing as well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So no real surprises other than that, right? We knew Pretty Deadly was going up. We knew Waller was. We were on the fence on Waller, right?
Mm-hmm.
We thought he could go up. JD going up was obvious. Hopefully, there's rumors of him joining the Judgment Day, which I think will be really good for him. And I think good for the faction. Am I missing anybody else? Indi, we already talked to Indi a little bit. Like seeing her reunite with the Way.
Zoe definitely deserved to go up, but I could have seen her staying as well. But that was a good one.
Yeah.
Cameron Grimes we haven't seen in a while. It was, I think they just kind of tried to find the best time to kind of push him up, and this was as good a time as any. So.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, maybe we'll see some more call-ups. We didn't see anybody come down, but that, kind of just happens. Indi Hartwell also went up. I think Indi Hartwell is going to get pushed pretty big up there.
Yeah, they went to Raw, correct?
Yeah, they went to Raw.
So yeah, I think they could get a push for sure.
Yeah,
especially they have that. They announced a possible pay-per-view in India in like September, so they could definitely get pushed big around that.
And Veer got his last name back.
Aha!
So yeah, it's happening, man. That's a thing. So that's pretty awesome. Any stock up and stock downs you want to make mention of?
I mean, just the usual suspects. I feel like Damon Kemp's probably a stock down. He really kind of stunk throughout the whole build to this through this a couple of episodes.
SCRYPTS.
Gigi Dolan, I feel like I would have stock.
Yeah.
She's been pretty mad lately. So, but Bron and I don't know if their stock can go much higher than it is, but Bron and Carmelo have been great lately. The whole tag division, I would say, has really risen up. So.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. We see some new faces, some up and coming. So it's going to be a very exciting time. Mm-hmm. All right. But before we go, Logan, are there any other shows or podcasts or YouTubes that you've appeared on lately or have coming up that you'd like to point the good people to?
Yeah, I'll actually plug a YouTube thing. I just did the preview for Bianca Belair and Asuka for Night of Champions with Ryan. He does like a match a day for the pay-per-view previews for Clotheslines and Headlines on the YouTube channel for North-South Connection. So I definitely did that recently. YouTube Roulette, Chicken Salad, Highway to the Impact Zone, Starflation. Those are all shows that I do on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. 7 Months of Danger as a wrestling pod about the Dangerous Alliance that I do on the North-South Connection. And then Talking Docs is a newer pod that I do with Jenny and Roger talking about documentaries. So you can hear me on a bunch of things. Just check them all out. Check everything out on all the feeds. Everybody's doing great stuff, so checking everything out.
When are you going to do Super Size Me?
Oh, God. We'll see. We're working on cults right now. Whenever we switch to our new thing, I may plug that. We'll see.
Nice. Very cool. Looking forward to it. Yeah, check that out. As for me, I pop up here on the Wrestling Network once a month with Logan as part of this show. I have some other shows that are dormant at the moment. Who knows? Maybe they'll come back one day. Maybe they won't. But my primary home is on the PlayStation Pop Experience. I am part of the regular rotation for the Video Jukebox Song of the Day that drops every weekday. It's just a really quick pod blast of a live watch of a music video to get your day going. And then my usual shows, I have the Pop Goes the Classics. I do with Miranda and Steve, where we're going through the whole Disney animated features. Our next episode will be about Fantasia 2000. Miranda and I just dropped our latest episode of the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational podcast, where we started season 2 of The Muppet Show, covering 4 episodes. So looking forward to getting through that season. Really enjoyed those 4 episodes. My memory is starting to come back a little bit more of my favorite show as a child. So really loving doing that. And then my live watch pods are dropping, here and there with Pop Goes the Classics again as my Pixar rewatch, which I do on Stream Lounge about usually every other Wednesday. And Logan has been on there with me, and Logan will be back with me the day after this pod drops. So this pod is dropping on May 30th. On May 31st, him and I will be watching Coco at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Stream Lounge. So come by and watch along with us. And if you can't make it there, it'll be up there. Or if you choose just to want to listen in pod form, it will be released down the line on the Pop Experience. And Cartoons of Our Youth. Latest episode with James Gruenberg. We watched Recess, which I've actually never had seen before, didn't know much about, and had a great time watching it with Gruny. And it's so much fun doing that show. We'll get Logan on there at some point to talk about one of his favorite cartoons. I won't ask him, put him on the spot now to tell us what that is. But as always, a great month. So next month we will be breaking down a month of TV, including the PLE, which is NXT Battleground, and we'll see how the brand takes shapes after that. So for Logan Crosland, I am Indi Atherton. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Who's Next, and we'll check you out on our next episode. Take care.